In the last 12 months, I've sold over $550,000 buying items from eBay.com and flipping them on Amazon FBA. Out of that $550,000, I've made a little over $100,000 in profit after fees, expenses, buy cost, so on and so forth. And in today's video, I wanted to share with you 7 tips to be able to flip more items from eBay to Amazon. Now, this is really going to pertain to analyzing deals and making sure you're buying the right items, because this is the thing that holds a lot of people back. They're trigger shy. They're scared to buy. They're scared to spend their money. And the truth is, if you want to make money selling on Amazon, you're going to have to pull the trigger. You're going to have to spend money. If you want to make more money and sell more and make more profit, you're going to have to invest more money into the products, okay? So let's get right into this video, okay? Tip number 1, profit. You need to make sure the items that you're going after have a good profit. And you don't want to just say to yourself, oh, look, the buy box is at $85. I could buy it for $35. I'm going to make a bunch of profit. The profit percentage, it's going to be fantastic. That's good, but you also have to make sure that you're selling it at a realistic price. Right now, we're smack dab in the middle of Q4, and a lot of items are inflated in price, like toys, video games, some board games. They're up 20, 30% on some of these ASINs. So you don't necessarily want to buy an item and say, oh, I'm going to make X amount of profit because, everything's inflated right now. If you went and you looked at Keepa, you're probably going to see that maybe that's a $60 to a $65 item throughout the year on average. Now, again, some prices are going to go up, they're going to go down, but on average, let's just say it's about $65. You don't want to buy speculating. Now, there's nothing wrong with speculating a certain percentage of the time, but when you speculate too often and you always just suppose that you're going to sell it at the highest price possible, that's when you get yourself into trouble. Tip number 2, flipping items from eBay to Amazon, but really even online arbitrage, wholesale, you want to make sure you have a good ROI. That's return on your investment, okay? So let's just say you spend $100 on a product. What's your ROI? If you're going to make, let's just say $30 off of that, that's going to be a 30% return on your investment. You invested 100, you made 30, that's a 30% ROI. We all have different standards in our business. I would say if you have less money, you're going to want a higher ROI because you have less capital to play with, and you want to make sure that you're bringing back more and more capital as quick as possible, even if you're a bit more pickier, so you could continue to invest back into your business. Now, let's just say you have a bit more capital, a bit more credit, then maybe you'll go for a little lower of an ROI because you're buying more and you really need to spend that money. For me, I really like to stick to around a 30% ROI. Some products I will go down a little bit because I flip them a bunch. They're on my replens list. They sell like hotcakes, but that's kind of where I stand. I know a lot of folks who are in my eBay to Amazon masterclass, or people who just get started, maybe they're on a limited budget, they only have a couple $1,000s. A lot of times they like to stick to 40, 50, 60% ROI, flips. Now, they may be a little bit harder to find. It depends what you're flipping. A lot of booksellers who flip E to A, they're at 100, 200%. It's a bit easier. Are you used? Are you new? I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, but that's kind of what, where I stand and kind of what I see a lot of folks doing. Number 3, sell-through rate. This is so important when you're doing, especially online arbitrage, E to A, traditional OA. I mean, you're spending a lot more money on your product. So you want to make sure not only do you have a strong profit and that you're not overinflating what you're going to sell it for, making sure you have a good ROI, but sell-through rate is so important, okay? So you have to ask yourself, how long do I think that this is going to take to sell? What's Seller Amp saying? Is it saying it's only selling 5 times a month? What's Keepa showing you? When you take a look at the price history, do you see, that maybe it was really popular and now it's less popular, or maybe, it's a seasonality item? You want to ask yourself, okay, I put $100 into this product. I'm going to make a 40% ROI. How long is it going to take for that little soldier to bring me back more soldiers, right? You're playing a game of trying to make your capital get bigger and bigger so you can invest more and grow it more and make more money. I mean, a lot of people, they don't know why their sales aren't growing. Like, why can't I get over 10K a month, 15K a month? You have to invest more, and you have to sacrifice paying yourself and investing your extra profit into the business and kind of push aside the cash flow so you can build it big enough to a point where you're like, okay, I'm going to maintain, I'm going to pay myself now. But sell-through rate, okay, is so important, because if your items take too long to sell, you got your capital just sitting there, it's not working for you, it's just sitting whereas you could have had something that you invested your money into that was flipping and turning, and maybe you had a little less ROI, but you were getting it back, reinvesting it, getting it back, reinvesting it. And, the compound effect really when it comes to flipping on Amazon, especially eBay to Amazon, okay? Now, tip number 4, competition. You can't really judge sell-through rate, even though you might look at an item and be like, oh, this is selling 300 times per month. You can't really, know how long it's going to take to sell if you don't look at the market in terms of how many merchant sellers, how many FBA, is Amazon on the listing? I'm going to talk about buy box in a second, but how many sellers are on the listing? If there's 30 sellers on the listing and it's only selling 30 times a month and 25 of them are FBA, it's going to be tough, right? You have to, and tip number 5 is you're going to have to look at the buy box to take a look at who's winning the buy box. Is it rotating equally? Is there one seller dominating? Sometimes there'll be a wholesaler or somebody with a whole bunch of quantity, and Amazon tends to give them the buy box a lot more. And you could go check for yourself. Keepa, data, buy box statistics, go into your condition, whether it's new or used, and take a look. Is it rotating equally? 8% to this person, 7% to this person, 9% to this person, 15% to this person. That's what you want to see. Or if there's not a lot of sellers on it and it's selling a ton, it's okay if, one seller's taking 80 or 90%, but as long as it's selling enough, that there's a market, that it's popular enough, that it's, selling often enough. I mean, there's some items I'll pick up where Amazon's winning the buy box 98% of the time, but there's only 2 or 3 sellers on it and it's selling hundreds of times a month. I'll go pop on that because I don't need to win the buy box all the time. So tip number 1, make sure you have a good profit, realistic profit. Tip number 2, have a strong ROI that fits your needs and your capital and, your goals. Number 3, sell-through rate is everything. I can't say it enough. Make sure your items have a strong sell-through rate based on your business model. Okay, I like my items to flip typically in 45 days or less, sometimes even 30, depending on the products. DVDs are a little different. They're a bit more long tail, but I'm a lot more into like business, industrial, tools, electronics, home improvement, stuff like that now. Buy box, check the buy box statistics. That was tip number 5. Check to see, is it rotating equally? Is one person dominating? Check the buy box statistics as well to make sure the brand hasn't been jumping on and off the listing, because that goes to tip number 6. Check for IP complaints. You've got to check Keepa to make sure that there's no big cliff drops with the number of sellers, which could be a sign that maybe there's IP complaints or brand gating going on. You also want to take a look at the buy box statistics to see if the brand's been coming on or off. Go look at SellerAmp if you're using it, or RevSeller. See who's selling on the listing. Make sure the brand isn't on the listing. That's certainly a no-no. If you're using IP Alert, definitely want to check that as well. And then tip number 7, restrictions. Make sure you're not restricted. And if you are restricted, go in, click that little apply button and see if you can get auto ungated. If not, and they ask you to provide invoices, then you're going to need to go out, buy 10 of a product, get an invoice, and get ungated for that specific product. Okay, so those are the 7 tips. Good profit, realistic profit. Don't get greedy. Make sure you have ROI standards based on your capital and your goals. Check the sell-through rate, and you can do that by taking a look at how many times it's selling. SellerAmp will tell you that. Keepa will tell you that. You can take a look at Keepa's price history to see all the green drops, see how often it's selling. Is it seasonal? Competition plays a huge role, and you can check how many sellers are on the listing, merchant versus FBA, how many are competitive, price within, I would say, 5% of that price. Look at the buy box statistics, see if it's going equally. If it's not, it's okay if there's enough demand there. Check restrictions. Again, you can, use SellerAmp to check, or Keepa, or just scan the item with the Amazon Seller app and check for IP complaints. IP Alert, Keepa, look for the cliff drop-offs, make sure the brand's not on the listing, and hopefully those 7 tips will help you to grow your business. If you guys like this information and want to learn more, definitely subscribe to my brand new E2A podcast. It's called the E2A Flippers Podcast. I have a new episode coming out every Monday. It's 100% free. Check that out. If you're brand new to selling on Amazon, you want to learn how to get started, how to list, how to ship, if you want coaching calls, if you want community, if you want people to be able to help you and answer your questions and get a whole course and videos, check out my membership site, which is resellingfreedom.com. We have over 300 members in there, over 7 coaches. I coach in there all the time. We have a bunch of other coaches. We have a community. It's amazing. It's really the best place to go and learn and just, build a business long-term, right? Because that's what we're about over here, a long-term business. We're not in this to just make a whole bunch of money in 3 months or put up a whole bunch of sales and not show any profit. We're trying to build a business through choosing the right business model, setting up systems, processes, getting softwares and apps that can help us, making right decisions, not just buying a bunch of stuff that theoretically is going to make a bunch of profit, but you end up losing a bunch of money. The purpose of this business is to make money. But a lot of people, they show those orange bars, they show all these sales, but they're not making any money. There's a right way to sell on Amazon and a wrong way. And unfortunately, A lot of people sell the wrong way. So check out resellingfreedom.com. Check out the free podcast down below. And with that being said, much love. Smash that like button. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.